Hey everyone, welcome to Plant-Based Cooking with John, your go-to channel for delicious plant-based recipes that won't break the bank. Whether you're a seasoned cook or just starting out, you'll find easy to follow recipes that use simple ingredients and basic kitchen equipment. On today's episode, we're going to be making a tofu scramble. Now there are a lot of recipes out there for tofu scrambles, but this is the way I like to do it, and hopefully you'll like it too. Let's check it out. To start things off, let's talk about the ingredients that we're going to be using for this particular recipe. So first off, tofu scramble, you need your tofu. So just make sure it's extra firm. The next ingredient I like to use is tahini. This is a sesame seed butter, basically. And you can find it at most stores, but this will give a little bit more protein and it gives it a little bit more of a thickness in the egg, so you'll have it a little bit more substantial with the tofu. The next item we're going to be using is nutritional yeast. I did bring this up in my tofu bacon video, check it out. And then you'll want this for that cheesier flavor, a little bit of the color. It's really good in a tofu scramble, so I highly recommend that. Also good in vitamins. We're going to be using salt and pepper, as usual, for almost all recipes. Olive oil to cook with, okay? So we'll just be using a little bit of that. And then for seasonings, oh, and one other thing too, just a splash of oat milk, and that'll make the eggs fluffy. Although this, I would say, is optional if you want to use that or not. Now, some other seasonings that I like to use for this particular recipe are any kind of herbs. So in this case, just an Italian blend is fine. And then we have our garlic powder and onion powder. That's going to give it a little flavor. And then for any egg dish, I like to add just a splash of paprika, just to kick up the spice level just a little bit. Now, three other optional ingredients you can use. You don't have to use the tahini if you don't want to. You don't have to use the milk if you don't want to. Here are three other ingredients that I would recommend for this recipe, but if you don't have them, that's okay. Number one, I would recommend cumin. That's going to give kind of more of a meatier kind of taste to the egg. Also turmeric, which will bring the scramble just a little bit more color, which is also really good in presenting to the eyes. And then the last one, and I've discussed this before, my favorite, is the Kalanomic, the India black salt. This tastes and smells like egg, and it'll definitely just make your scramble so much better and so much like the real thing. For review, now I'm going to list all the ingredients on the screen in case you want to write them down, gather them up, or if you prefer, just follow along with me. Let's do it. Alright, for the first step, we're just going to set up the tofu. What I like to do, instead of pressing the block, I like to give more surface area to strain the tofu and dry it out a little bit more. So what I do is just open the package. I would prefer using a knife so it doesn't splatter everywhere. You're going to take your tofu block and you're just going to give it a quick rinse. So I have my tofu here. And then just grab a regular kitchen towel. And what I like to do is basically crumble up the tofu with my hands. So this is determined by you. I do like the tofu to be just a little bit more smaller so it cooks a little bit more evenly throughout. But if you like bigger pieces and you don't mind the softness of the tofu when you cook it, you can leave the chunks a little bigger if you want. That's up to you. All right, once I have everything crumbled here on the towel, all I'm going to do here is just bring it up. I'm kind of centering it in the towel. And then I'm just going to take the sides, and then I'm going to take the the other sides, right? And I'm going to fold it over so it's like a little square, okay? Now, then what you'll want to do is you'll want some weight on this to press it down. So I just have some cast iron skillets, and I'm just going to set it right there on the towel. And you can do this you could do this before you cook, like 30 minutes to an hour before. You want to just drain out all that water, and the longer you let this be pressed, the better it's going to turn out. So about 30 minutes and we'll be back. All right, while we're waiting for the tofu to be pressed, now we're just going to prep just a little sauce that we're going to use to put on the egg to really make it taste like the scrambled egg that you're used to. Now, if you decide not to use the tahini and the oat milk, you'll just skip this step because you can add the seasoning right into the pan when you're cooking the tofu. But if not, and you do want to follow this recipe completely, all you'll do is use your tahini and scoop out 2 tablespoons of the tahini into the bowl. And that's like I said, it's going to give it a little bit of the thickness you need. The next thing you're going to use is the oat milk, and remember, this just needs a splash, so roughly just another tablespoon, just a little splash in there. And now I'm going to use my nutritional yeast. You can go as heavy and as generous on this if you how you want. I would say for this recipe, I'm just going to use about a tablespoon as well. Okay, I may have went a little over on that, and that's okay. Now for your seasoning, for the turmeric, you just want to use about a 1/4 teaspoon. Okay. For the paprika, another 1/4 teaspoon. And then these 2 ingredients, of course, can be optional. You do want your onion and garlic powder, though. On the onion powder, I'm going to do another 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon. Garlic powder, I'm also going to use the same amount, 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon. Cumin was an optional item if you wanted to add it in. You're just going to do 1/4 teaspoon there. Okay. And then you have your herbs, and you can go as heavy on this as you want as well. I would say about a 1/2 teaspoon of the herbs. So about right there. And then just a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper, because that can be further adjusted later when we're tasting the tofu and we're cooking that in. So I'm just going to do a little bit of each. Those are both about 1/4 teaspoons as well. And then you'll just want to take like a whisk, or if you don't have one, you can just use a fork. And you're just going to mix all this together until everything is incorporated and looking saucy. It will be a little thick, and that's okay. If it's too thick for you, all you need to do is just add a little bit more of the oat milk. But if you do want your scramble to be a little bit more dry and not use the tahini and the oat milk, that's fine too. I have all the seasoning and the tahini and the milk incorporated into the bowl, and just to kind of give you an idea of like the consistency, it's a little thick, but still not thick enough to where I can easily just scrape this out of the bowl when I need to. Okay, we're ready to start cooking the tofu now. I like to set this heat to about a medium-high heat, and then you're just going to want to put just enough olive oil to cover the base. So that's about a tablespoon, maybe slightly more, okay? Switch it around in the pan a little bit just so it covers everything. And now we're going to take our towel with our pressed tofu crumbles, and we're just going to open the towel. Be careful with this because it's going to spill out. I just dump it right in, just like so. All right, now I have my crumbled tofu pieces that are dried. And now what I'm doing while the heat is heating up, I just like to break out my tofu just a little bit. Like I said, you can leave them in larger clumps if you want. That is up to you. And I'm just making sure that all the oil touches the tofu. And I'm going to cook this until I see that the tofu is golden brown. Okay, the tofu is now golden brown, and I'm going to turn off the heat completely. I just want to give a little quick note here. I did say golden brown, but just keep in mind that tofu just really needs to be heated. There are a lot of pieces in here that are not golden brown, and that's okay. We're going to do a little bit more light cooking when we add the rest of the ingredients, but the tofu can be to your liking as far as the cook goes. I like mine to be a little golden brown, but not to where it's like crispy, okay? Because you want to keep that fluffiness of the egg, okay? So now I have the heat turned completely off, and now I'm going to add the mixture that we talked about earlier. And I'm just trying to spread this all around the egg. And the reason why we're turning it off is because we want to get it completely incorporated without burning any of the ingredients. All right, so I have my mixture in, and now I'm just going to stir this all in so it gets fully incorporated. All right, now that I have all the ingredients incorporated, it's really starting to look like scrambled egg now. Just a little closer look. Whoops, I dropped a little outside of the pan, great. But now that all the ingredients are incorporated, I'm going to turn this back on to a low heat. And now what we're really just trying to do is warm up all the ingredients together. Now, if you want to add the special secret ingredient that makes your eggs the best, if you want to add that common colonomic, I would just say flatten out all the tofu on the pan, like so. And then add your secret special ingredient. And all I do is just skim the top of the egg so that it's touching that full flat surface that we just put on. And man, this will really kick it up a notch if you really like your eggs to taste like eggs. And then I'm just gonna mix that all in, and immediately I can smell that delicious egg flavor. All right, now on this low heat, you're not really looking to like really cook it further. Like I said, this is just to warm the ingredients that you just added. And I'm just gonna try just a little bite here. Okay, it does need, in my opinion, a little bit more salt and a little bit more pepper. This would also be the time to add that. So I'm just gonna add a little salt and a little pepper. And when it's hot, it's ready to serve. All right, pretty easy, right? So I have my tofu scramble right here. It's looking fantastic. I'll show you a little closer. Definitely looks like egg. And let's give it a try here. So good. It tastes just like egg. It's fluffy like egg. Now, you can eat this plain. Some people like their eggs plain. I like to add a little veggies. Now, everything that we've done up to this point, it's fine. You can still have the tofu fully cooked, and then on the side, cook a little bit of veggies and add them into the pan and make yourself a scramble with veggies. All right, as mentioned, I do have the cooked tofu, but if you do want to add a little veggies to the mix, this is still not turned on, so this is your completed egg dish. And I have actually already pre-prepared some veggies that I'm going to put into the scramble just to make it look a little better. And so I've cooked up some cherry tomatoes. They're blistered right now from the heat. Onions and yellow pepper, bell pepper, and black olives. So I'm just going to put this in here, and you can add any veggies you want. If I had broccoli, I'd be using that right now because I love broccoli. But you can use any veggies you want, or make a with salsa if you want. However you want to do it, it's really easy. Just cooking up the veggies, I just used a little olive oil and salt and pepper. And so now I'm going to take my cooked veggies and my cooked tofu, mix that all together. And if I want a little bit more heat on that, just to warm it up, just put it on low and just watch it and stir. So it's all incorporated in. All right, I have the tofu with the veggies mixed in, and it's on my plate. But if I'm going to make a full breakfast out of this, the scramble is just not going to be enough. So I have cooked up some tofu bacon. I'm just going to add that to my plate. And then, of course, what breakfast would not be the same without some breakfast potatoes? So there you have it, a full vegan breakfast. So I have my complete vegan breakfast right here, my plant-based, delicious breakfast. Tofu scramble, tofu bacon, and the seasoned potatoes. Man, everything looks so good. And see, this just goes to show that you can get all the flavors, all the textures, easy to make, and it doesn't cost that much, guys. Tofu is so cheap, and then the things you can do to it, the things you can add to it, it's a blank slate where you get to add your own flavors. There is a video of my seasoned potatoes and my tofu bacon, so if you want the full meal like this, you should check it out. For storage of the tofu scramble, I would say just put it in a glass container with plastic wrap or a lid and eat no more than 5 days. Alright, that's the end. Thank you so much for tuning in. As I mentioned, if you want to get the full breakfast as I just presented, I would check out these two particular videos that are popping up on the screen right now. One for the seasoned potatoes and one for the tofu bacon. And then of course, if you enjoyed the scramble today, definitely hit that alert bell and definitely subscribe so you're up to date on all the newest recipes that I'm going to be coming out with in the later weeks. Thanks everyone.